SCC! The crew unveil an exciting brand new feature to Card Ladder. And later, the NBA playoffs are underway. Are there new superstars on the horizon? All this and more right now on SCC.
Welcome to episode 26 of Sports Cards Culture. I'm Chris _HOJ on Instagram, here with Stiff Arm Wax by the same name on Instagram, Kristina at Kristina's PC on Instagram, and Josh at Cardboard_Chronicles on Instagram. First up, let's talk about a new feature on Card Ladder, an exciting one that a lot of people have been waiting for. As you may already know, Card Ladder requires a researcher to verify sales before they are permitted to display on a card's profile. The accuracy and credibility of our data is the heart of our business. So in total, the Card Ladder database contains millions of sales going back to 2003, and each of those sales has been vetted by a knowledgeable sports card researcher. Kristina, can you vet that statement?
True.
While I'm proud of this fact, I'm not bringing this up to toot the Card Ladder horn.
Beep, beep.
Understanding that there is a rigorous process in place to verify sales is important to understanding our newest feature. We've received many requests from Card Ladder members to be able to report a private sale to Card Ladder and have that sale appear in the card's sales history. And because we have researchers in place to verify incoming sales of cards in the Card Ladder database, we are uniquely positioned to vet reports of private transactions from Card Ladder members. But let me back up for a second here. What is a private sale? It is a sale that happens outside of a public selling platform like eBay or Golden or MySlabs. Card Ladder currently tracks 13 different public selling platforms, but up until now, we have only ever reported one private transaction. Do you remember what one it is, Kristina?
I do. It was Rob G's purchase of the mantle because it was verified by a third party, an auction house.
And because the predicted value lined up with the price that they paid, and lots of factors went into that. But only one private sale ever in the history of Card Ladder. Okay, Josh, let me tag you in here. Can you give some examples of what private sales are?
It's just a deal between two people that did not occur in a public auction website. So like the best example would be at a card show. You know, if there's two people, a dealer and a buyer, that's really the easiest one. And I mean, we're really looking for one of the people involved in the private deal. You know, there's two parties, the buyer and the seller. We're looking for one of those two to report these sales because, you know, in this case, they're the ones that were a part of it, the only ones that know about the transaction fully and, you know, saw the money exchange hands. So that's where we're looking for.
Some other examples include transactions that take place on Instagram and Facebook, and, you know, like the Rob Go deal, a private deal brokered by an auction house. Now, Josh, with respect to your collection, what percentage of your collection was in fact acquired via a private sale? And what percentage, on the other hand, was acquired from a public sale?
I would say in total, like 25% of it's private, but like my main PC, like my most prized possessions, my favorite cards, like I would say about 50 to 60% of those are private. So I think we're going to see a lot more of the private sales on sort of the high end, you know, because some of the cheaper cards, you'll just see so much volume on eBay and those sites that, you know, the private sales sort of get lost in those. But the ones that don't sell so frequently, those are the ones that are really going to help out in this case. So the rare high end iconic cards, you know, the private sales will be very helpful there.
And there's a lot of incentive. The higher you go on the value hierarchy of cards, the stronger the incentive is to facilitate a private deal, because sellers and auction houses often take commissions based on a percentage of the final price. So most of the premier auction houses have what's called a buyer's premium of 20% tacked on to the hammer price, and some portion of that goes to the auction house, some portion of that goes to the consignor. Theoretically, you can get rid of, maybe knock off a little bit of the fee, which benefits both the buyer and the seller if you take a deal private. So there's strong incentive to do private deals, especially when the stakes are really high. Kristina, same question to you.
You can knock off 100% of the fees if you deal in cash in person, which I would say of our goats, like our grails, like 90% of our cards are private deals.
Yes.
And then of the entire collection, I mean, if you're talking about all of the product that I've ripped, like you're also, and
Nope.
then we've graded.
Not talking about those. Just the grails. But
Yeah, just the grails, then 90% are private transactions.
I would say 9 out of 10 cards that are in that personal collection stash were obtained from a private deal.
Yeah.
And so from Josh's experience, from your experience, I think a large number of important transactions that are important to people's collections have not happened in a publicly visible way.
Correct.
So we're at a unique point also in the growth of the sports card market right now. The world is reopening after a lengthy quarantine. There are now big card shows happening virtually every weekend across the country. Millions of dollars are being exchanged for cards at these shows every weekend. There are countless deals happening across social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and many important deals are being brokered in private by auction houses. A big Tom Brady card recently, the Rob Go, Mickey Mantle deal, etc. And guess what? Word spreads throughout the hobby about these private deals. And if the deal includes a rare card that doesn't sell often, then these private deals are sometimes used as comps to price other copies of the card or of similar cards. Josh, let me ask you really quick. Do you have any experience or could you just confirm the fact that oftentimes private deal comps are used to set the price for a card that maybe you're trying to buy or maybe a card that you're trying to sell if that card doesn't have public sales history?
Some of the examples I'm thinking of are actually like private, and I can't actually like say the prices in the cards and stuff, but there's been several times when a card is coming up at a big auction and I'm anticipating a certain price based on what I've heard a few private deals leading up to that sold for. And then, if I am comping a card to buy or sell with someone, I'll reference another high-end collector that's trustworthy and say, hey, this is what that person just sold theirs for. And then usually it's taken, as truth at that point. So it does happen a lot in the, high-end private circles for sure.
So until now, no one has compiled a database of these private deals. Some of the most important transactions in sports card history have been private deals, and there should be a place that you can go and learn a little bit about them. We have now added the ability for Card Ladder members to add private sales to the Card Ladder database. Now, let's talk about this because it's a big topic and an important one, and one that we take very seriously. Private sales submissions will be vetted with even greater scrutiny than we apply to sales coming in from eBay and auction houses. Private sales, by definition, lack the transparency and the accountability that public sales have. So we will err on the side of extreme caution when deciding whether to allow a private sale to appear in the Card Ladder database. If your legitimate private sale submission is rejected, please do not take offense to that. We undoubtedly are going to end up rejecting some legitimate private sales because of the strict standards that will be applied. Here are some of the criteria for a private sale. Several of the factors that I'm going to be listed off are included in the decision-making process. First, the sale must shed light on the cards market. There is no need to report a private sale of a card that sells on a public platform regularly. This feature is designed to report sales of rare cards that have limited public sale histories. Second, the sale must represent a plausible price for the card at the time of the sale. Our researchers have several ways of determining what a plausible price is, including looking at the card's predicted value and looking at a comparable card's sales histories. Third, the submitter of the private sale must be a credible member of the hobby community. Very important. It is helpful if the submitter has a well-established social media presence that can be referenced by the researcher to determine their credibility. These factors are considered in addition to the normal rigorous verification process that all sales undergo. Okay, let me bring in Josh once again. How do you add a private sale to Card Ladder's database, and what information are Card Ladder members who submit a private sale required to provide?
Yeah, before I start, I just wanted to echo, the seriousness of this, because the first question that's going to be asked is like, okay, you're going to let in private sales. How can I trust this if you're just going to open this floodgate of whatever Joe Schmo says? It's quite the opposite. And like you said, we take it very serious, and we're going to have more strict policies on it. So I'm glad you pointed that out. So on the site, if you on the pro site, app.cardladder.com, if you go to a card, let's just pick a rare card, Luca Prism Gold, that you guys actually own one of those. So if you go to the profile, click View All Sales, where you get the full sales history. There's going to be a plus in the top right. That's a new addition. Next to the Purgatory button and next to Close, there'll be a plus. Click on that. You'll be presented with a modal where you can submit a private sale for review. So it's not going to just automatically put it into our database. It's going to put it in front of our eyes. Our researchers, we're going to take a look at it. The things you need to have first is to verify who you are. The transparency of it is you yourself. What is your profile link? Who are you? We also have, your user account, the person that submitted it, but some of that information is private. So we want you to be public in which sort of information you'd like to provide to us in order to vet. So the best way is, your Facebook profile or your Instagram profile. And that's required, actually. We will not let you submit a sale unless that's done. You can also change that from your account. So if you've already put in a profile link from your account, you won't be required to do this for every single one, just the first time. Next, obviously the price, the date. Next is going to be a URL, which is not required, but let's say that you have maybe a URL to a video where you film the transaction occurring on YouTube, or the Instagram post of where you showed that you received the card, or the seller or whatever. Maybe you have a picture of it, something like that. Next is going to be the platform. There's a drop down where you can select private. That'll be the default option, so you'll see that it says private there. And then lastly is the type, two more fields. The next is the type of transaction. Was it a best offer, auction, fixed price? And then lastly are notes. So if there's any final notes that you want to provide to us as researchers that we can use to shed light on the sale even further, that's helpful for us. So you can type as much as you want there. Really, can't leave out any detail for us that we want to look at. So once you get all of that in place, I'm going to keep going on the process. It goes into our pending state, where our research team is going to take a look at it and take a real hard look at it. We actually visually make those different than the other ones so they stand out. And then once it's approved, all of the information that was submitted to us is then displayed on the all-time sales history. Each sale is shown on a line item. We'll actually show the notes that the person put. There'll be a link to their profile, so you as a user can go check on other private sales and all the information that you have from all the other sales that come in through eBay.
Excellent. And when looking at a card profile on Card Ladder, how can a user differentiate between a normal public sale versus a private sale?
Yeah, this is also important to us. So not only is it important that we vet each sale and each customer that submits a sale for review, it's also important that customers who look at other private sales can easily distinguish those between the non-private sales, so they can internally make that judgment for themselves whether they want to use that as a real comp. So on the graph, we actually highlight it in a blue color instead of green. The dot will be blue. It'll stand out. When you hover, it'll say private sale in parentheses. So it's very obvious that it's a different type of sale. And then, like I said, in the all-time sales history list, when you click View All Sales, it will show private as the listing type in the column. Excellent.
Can users add private sales from many years ago, or does it need to be a current sale?
Yes, that is going to be the interesting part of this, because we've never done this before. I'm expecting a flood of past sales, which is totally okay, because here at Card Ladder we take all-time sales history very serious, and we love to kind of fill in the gaps of these sales from a long time ago, because it really helps fill out the graph and show you the overall trends of that card going back as far as we can. So those are definitely welcome. They're going to be a little bit stricter again, because we may not have as much context if it's 10 years ago. We may not have as much data on that given card around those sales and those dates, so we have to be just a little bit more careful.
Excellent. Final question on this new feature, save the best for last. Kristina, how much do you look forward to receiving feedback from our members inquiring about their private sale?
I look so forward to all of the messages I'm going to get to answer, and all of the times that I'm going to talk to our amazing Card Ladder Pro members.
Great. Be nice to Kristina as you navigate this new feature. Okay.
One more thing. You can submit non-private ones to us now. So one of the main usages of feedback for Kristina is that people will submit sales to her through feedback, which is fantastic. But now there's a way for you to do it automatically, so it'll get moved through the process a little bit quicker. So if you find a golden auction that we missed, or an eBay auction or whatever, we can put it in your hands now, submit the sale to us for review, give us the URL, save everyone a ton of time. So hopefully this is going to be beneficial for all of us, not just for Kristina, for Chris, for all of us.
Great point. Good. Okay. Enjoy the new feature with responsibility.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Right, and let's see how it goes. We're rolling out this feature very cautiously. Coming up on Sports Cards Culture, NBA playoffs, superstars being born. What's the long-term collectability of some of these new stars on the rise?
Imagine everything you love about the hobby in the palm of your hand. An entire store at your fingertips. Everything you need to know about cards is within your grasp. Unlock the secrets of the hobby. Plus, so much more. You don't have to imagine anymore. It's here. Card Ladder. Get the app today.
You're watching SCC, Sports Cards Culture. Keep up with the crew and follow them on all the socials. Plus, join Josh and Chris and sometimes special guest Kristina every Friday night on Instagram Live. The Crossover.
All right, NBA playoffs. New superstars being born. The playoff field continues to narrow week after week, and now that Denver has been eliminated, only 7 teams remain. On this show, we approach sports card collecting from multiple points of view, but we are among the handful of hobby content creators who take into consideration the long-term point of view. Several players from the remaining teams are captivating the NBA and card collecting audiences, and I wanted to mention some of these players, 3, and see what we think about their ability to build collector bases for the long term. Let's start with Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks, who at age 22 is currently in his 3rd season. Although he did not make the cut for the All-Star game this year, he seems to be opening a lot of eyes with his postseason debut. He is 5-3 so far in the playoffs. In 37 minutes per game, he is averaging 29 points and 10 assists on 45, 34, 92 splits, and his player efficiency rating is 24.6. Josh, do you see potential for a long-term collector base developing around Trae Young?
I'm sure everyone's just dying to hear my response on this. It's a long history between myself and Trae. I actually do, though. I think he's got a really good shot at having a strong collector base because he's unique. He's got a unique style. Collectors really like something that's unique. You're looking at Steph Curry, Allen Iverson, Russell Westbrook. These guys bring very unique things to the game that you don't see from other players. So I think that really helps him stand out. He's an electric player. He's very exciting, great passer, decent shooter. I think maybe not as good of a shooter as a lot of people like to think, but he's a good shooter, and and this whole villain thing that he has going right now, I think could help him in the long run. This New York spitting thing and all these different things. Those are interesting, so I think those could definitely help him build a collector base. And he already has a pretty strong one today. There's a lot of guys that I know that collect him. Also, he's got this sort of him versus Luka thing with the same rookie year. So some people really like picking the underdog, of the less popular, relative to Luka. This is sort of underdog mentality. So he's got that going for him as well.
I think Josh hit the nail on the head with the last comment he made regarding the villain.
Trey is relevant insofar as it relates to Luka.
Yes. Well, what do you expect from a Luka collector, right? Like, come on. But every great hero needs a great villain. So, and it seems Trae Young is more than willing to play up to the crowd and fill those shoes, those sneakers, if you will. He's going to gain followers because of that. And, I mean, he is connected to Luka because of the draft night trade that happened where Atlanta picked Luka for the trade to give him to the Mavericks. So I think that, like, those players will always be connected no matter what they do. So you might as well, like, have one be the villain and one be the hero, depending on your perspective. I'm sure some people are saying Trey's the hero and Luka's the villain.
Something about Trae makes people in the hobby relate to him. Maybe it's the size, maybe it's the way he plays, maybe it's the way he looks, but he's very relatable, and people identify with him on a level that doesn't happen all that often. So why is that funny, Stiff?
Trae Young sucks.
Okay, there we go.
So just keep it moving. He's not even a good villain. He's horrible. Next guy.
All right, we've worn out the Trae.
He's like the Penguin or like something like something that like he's not even like a Bane or like
we were being so
Joker.
Nice to Trae.
Hey, I was trying not to laugh, and then you had to call it out.
Okay, all right, let's go. Up next, DeAndre Ayton of the Phoenix Suns. Like Trae Young, he is 22 years old. He's in his third NBA season, and he's making his first playoff appearance. He's 8-2 so far. In 35 minutes per game, he's averaging 16 points and 11 rebounds on 73% shooting. His player efficiency rating is 19. Stiff arm wax. You may have taken an interest in DeAndre Ayton not long ago and acquired a few of his cards. Do you see yourself as a long-term collector of DeAndre Ayton?
I just thought he was playing extremely well in the playoffs with the Suns, and I thought he was overlooked. Like, nobody really was. He was a first-round draft pick, and then he kind of went under the radar. Nobody was really talking about him, and I thought he was just playing super well. He seems humble and down to earth, so like I was just like, I like this guy, and his cards seem cheap, and so yeah, he's like a long term because I don't think it'll necessarily be right away. Maybe it will be because the Suns are looking hot right now, no pun intended, but. Yeah, I'm liking him. Yeah.
Indeed. Number 1 overall pick, DeAndre Ayton. Okay, Josh, what do you think about the prospect of DeAndre Ayton becoming collected over the long haul?
Well, I've got a lot of reasons to say that he's a great long-term prospect. Nick, I love that you're getting to Ayton. He's a great player, great kid, as you pointed out. He's got some things going against him, though, so I'm just going to, give you the other side of this. One, he went to U of A, terrible school, just a horrible school.
Oh, no.
I went to Arizona State, if you can't tell.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah, I had to throw that one in there. And traditionally, like, big guys and centers just haven't done well long-term in the hobby. I mean, Tim Duncan's a 5-time champion, one of the greatest of all time, and he still struggles to, match his peers in price value just because he's big. It's just kind of the reality of it. And in the case of Ayton, he's dependent on Chris Paul and Booker to kind of create for him in a lot of cases, but he's a great player, really fantastic, and his prices are so cheap right now that relative to how he's playing and how good he is, there's still some room. Like, even if you're talking about David Robinson or Duncan or Hakeem, if he gets to that level, his prices will definitely go up. He's got a long way to go, obviously. That's the only thing. It's just the big man thing, and we've seen other content creators try to make big man a thing because they're undervalued, and they got burned on that, so just be careful.
Kristina, any thoughts on DeAndre Ayton before we move on? No, okay. We'll do one more player for today to wrap up the show. Donovan Mitchell of the Utah Jazz. Mitchell, who is 24 years old, has been into the playoffs all 4 years of his young career. So far in these playoffs, he is 6-1. In 33 minutes per game, he's averaging 32 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds on 51, 44, 85 splits. And his PER is a very impressive 28.1. Josh, what do you think about Donovan Mitchell as a player to collect for the long term?
Well, if you're trying to build the best Donovan Mitchell collection. You got a long uphill battle. My friend Ross, shout out to Ross. He has like all of the Donovan Mitchell rookies. He's got the Logo Man auto, and he's got like, I think he has 3 or 4 of the gold prisms out of the 10 or something. I think he has 4 of them. So it's like your options are very limited. Thanks a lot, Ross. You're making it hard for some of these other guys. But that could create rarity and scarcity. If you think about it that way, his stuff is going to be hard to collect because of that. I think he does have a pretty decent long-term collectability to him. He's not quite as popular as Tatum from his rookie year. He seems to be not quite as popular as Trey or Ja Morant or Zion. And maybe that's like the Utah thing, just being like a smaller market, or I'm not sure exactly, but he's a very exciting player, flashy, long threes, efficient like you pointed out. So I'm not sure, but I think he's definitely someone to look at if you're looking to collect someone a little bit, against the grain a little bit. I think he's a fun player to collect.
What do you think about the fact that he's just much better in the playoffs than he is in the regular season? His player efficiency rating jumps up by like 30 to 35% in the playoffs. His counting numbers go way up too. During the regular season, I don't know, he's maybe a top 30, top 40 player. In the playoffs, he like goes to a superstar level. Do you think that impacts his collectability at all, for the better or for the worse?
Absolutely. Yeah. Collectors love playoff time, crunch time. I mean, this goes back to, like, this really started with Michael Jordan, where it's like, this concept of like winning time and being clutch. And that's very important to the history of the sports now, and winning championships and collectability, all these things kind of wrapped up into what Michael Jordan is. So anytime you can get to that level of raising your game to a really high level when it matters most, people are always just going to kind of compare that to Michael Jordan. So I think that definitely helps.
Stiff, same question to you. Is Donovan Mitchell a player to collect for the long haul?
He's somebody, when I watch him, like, man, I wish I had his cards.
And, okay, very good. And Kristina, take us home. Any thoughts on Donovan Mitchell to wrap the show? No pressure, but this is the final question and answer of the whole show.
Let's go Jazz.
Oh, that's right. What?
I think they're due. Yeah, fighting words. I think they're due a title. I'm looking forward to them maybe winning it all, and make Stockton and Malone proud.
Yeah, Suns.
And why are you rooting for the Jazz?
Because when I play NBA Jam, I always pick Stockton and Malone.
You also.
Oh, that's not why.
You also don't like the team that they're playing right now.
Nope.
I'm not even going to say their name. The Clippers beat the Mavs, everyone.
See, I'm a fan of the opposite variety, where like, okay, the Clippers beat the Mavs. I want the Clippers to go all the way, win the whole thing, no losses. That that validates the Mavs taking them to 7.
I'm more vengeful than that.
Okay. All right. Good. That'll do it for episode 26 on Sports Cards Culture. See you guys next week.
Thanks for watching. Tell us in the comment section below what the crew should cover next week, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time in SCC, Sports Cards Culture.